A fluorescent aisle in a German supermarket after work. A clear plastic bottle of sparkling water waits in a row of twins. At the register, the water carries a shelf price. Beside that price, the receipt adds another figure, 25 cents. You pay both. You leave with a full bottle and a claim attached to the moment it becomes empty. 3 minutes later, the water is gone. The bottle weighs almost nothing. In an ordinary city, an empty disposable container is a cost, a thing for a bin crew. Here, the emptiness still holds cash. Feed the bottle into the correct reverse vending machine under the correct mark, and the 25 cents come back. Leave it in a park bin, and the money does not follow you. It remains inside a return market built for packaging the drink no longer occupies. This is Germany's bottle deposit system. The contradiction is immediate. An empty disposable bottle retains a legally created cash value after the drink itself is gone. That value is not the scrap price of plastic. It is a mandatory deposit on covered single-use beverage packaging. Standardized marking, retailer take-back duties, reverse vending data, and deposit clearing coordinate a nationwide market in emptiness. Follow one bottle from checkout to return. Not every bottle. The 25-cent rule applies to covered single-use containers, not to every vessel on the shelf. Reusable packaging follows different deposit amounts and different circulation rules. Two legal regimes share one cooler door. Mix them up, and the machine at the entrance rejects the hand that fed it. The bottle in this story is the single-use kind. It will be sold, drained, and either walked back into the chain or lost to ordinary trash. If it returns, a retailer refunds the 25 cents, and a national clearing system reconciles the accounts. If it never returns, the consumer does not recapture the deposit. The mechanism, not the brand of water, is the protagonist. Germany attached a redeemable claim to a category of waste, and then compelled manufacturers and retailers to honor the claim. The empty bottle is a market with a barcode. The rest of the story is how that market actually moves.
Most visitors treat German Pfand as a single folk custom, a small refund for being tidy. The legal architecture is older, narrower, and more split than the custom suggests. For decades, German beer and many mineral waters moved in reusable bottles stacked in crates. A brewery needed the vessel back because the vessel was plant equipment on a route. Wash the glass, refill it, send it out under a new label. The deposit on that loop was a circulation tool. It kept an asset from leaking into household junk. Single-use packaging arrived as a rival logic. A thin PET bottle or an aluminum can does not need a brewery wash line. It needs a filling plant, a truck, and a consumer who will never see that plant. By the late 20th century, the two forms shared German shelves and German roadsides. Disposable drinks produced a visible litter. They also threatened the older reusable loops, whose costs only make sense if enough bottles actually return to be washed. On the first day of 2003, Germany attached a high mandatory deposit to a defined set of one-way beverage packages. Cans and disposable bottles that had been easy to toss suddenly carried a cash leash.
25 cents, later locked in as the statutory amount for covered single-use packaging, is large next to a cheap drink and small next to a legal department. It was large enough to require industrial counting. A crate returned to a familiar brewery cannot process a nation of unique one-way units sold in every discounter. Deutsche Pfandsystem GmbH formed to run that one-way world. In the company's own account, the circuit is registration, marking, return, consumer reimbursement, a reverse vending network, and deposit clearing. Germany's Environment Agency, the Umweltbundesamt, describes the same nucleus from the public side: a mandatory €0.25 deposit, a retailer return duty, a consumer refund, and a nationwide clearing requirement for covered single-use beverage packaging. Two independent descriptions, one factual core. The historical blind spot is the cooler itself. Reusable glass and one-way glass can share a door. PET can be a refillable workhorse or a disposable sleeper. The law does not grade the material by feel, it grades the declared system. Reusable packaging stays inside refill circulation, with deposit amounts and routing rules that belong to fillers and crate pools.
Covered single-use packaging must wear the registered DPG mark if it is to be bought back at 25 cents. An unmarked import can look identical and still be ineligible. Stand in front of a reverse vending machine in a Berlin or Cologne entrance hall, and you can watch the blind spot fail in real time. A tourist feeds a crushed foreign bottle. The machine spits it out. A regular feeds a reusable beer bottle into a one-way slot. Rejection again. A parent feeds a marked one-way water bottle. The drum turns, the barcode is read, a credit appears. The public thinks the country pays for emptiness. The machine pays only for emptiness that has already been classified. From 1st January 2024, the deposit obligation widened. The Umweltbundesamt records the expansion as a date, not a mood. Lines of single-use beverage packaging that had lived outside the 25-cent circuit had to enter it. Labels changed. Barcodes had to be registered. Reverse vending software had to recognize new families of containers.
A system designed around water, cola, and beer had to digest products whose makers had not built their margins around a nationwide take-back duty. In a courtyard in Munich, empty reusable beer bottles wait in a crate for a driver who knows the brewery by name. What people miss standing at the receipt printer is that Germany did not fall in love with bottles. It split the market. One side washes a vessel and sells the same object full again. The other side sells a disposable unit and then buys the empty unit back through retailers so that material, not the bottle as bottle, can be recovered. The deposit is the price that makes the second market move. Without the price, the one-way container is a suggestion. With the price, it is a claim. The bottle we are following was born on the one-way side of that split. Its journey is not a parable about national character.
Night shift at a filling line. PET preforms blow into bottles. Take water, take caps, take labels. Near the barcode sits a small DPG mark. The mark is the filler's admission to the one-way deposit circuit. A compliance officer registers the article so that later machines can recognize the empty body. The plant's motive is blunt. Sell liquid in a vessel light enough for long trucking. Disposable PET wins that comparison. The registered mark and the deposit liability are the toll for using that lightness inside Germany. If the filler had chosen a reusable loop, this bottle would have been equipment to recover and wash. Different deposit amounts, different trucks, different accounting. The choice is a cost comparison under a statute that does not treat the two lives as one. Across the city, a supermarket manager watches a reverse vending machine pack itself with compressed plastic. All week, the shop collected deposits on covered one-way drinks. Now the same doorway must swallow empties, including units this branch never placed on a shelf. Take-back is a duty. Floor space becomes a counting room. Staff clear jams with gloves. The manager's incentive splits.
Reverse logistics is labor and complaint. Return traffic is also a procession of households who redeem a voucher and keep shopping. The machine is a legal appliance and a funnel. Deutsche Fahnsystem GmbH sits above the local noise as a coordinating institution. Its product is a registry and a clearing process that let a discounter in one state refund a bottle filled in another. Fillers and retailers stay inside because covered one-way packaging cannot legally ignore the circuit. If the circuit becomes theatrical, shops stop trusting the counts. The consumer at home is not dull. A kitchen corner holds a bag that is not quite trash and not quite a wallet. 25 cents per unit organizes some households and fails to organize others. Our supermarket bottle sits in that bag, or it has already left it. Forgetting is a motive. Haste is a motive. A walk that meets a public bin before it meets a shop is a motive. After dark, another figure works the same pavement. Collectors lift marked bottles from household bins and from the residue of outdoor events. No appointment letter from DPG sent them. The legally created cash value recruited them.
A sack of qualifying empties is a wage assembled from other people's inattention. The system priced emptiness, and labor arrived to harvest the price. Germany's Environment Agency publishes the public skeleton of duties and refunds. It does not dispatch collectors. Between that public skeleton and a pair of hands in a bin runs a chain of motives that holds only while the empty unit stays identifiable. Peel the label, ruin the code, or step outside the covered class, and the motives lose their object. The claim needs a reader. No reader, no motive that will carry the empty home. The decisive choices stay quiet. A filler remains on one-way PET.
A retail chain adds a second machine instead of hosting a Saturday argument. A logistics firm quotes another weekly pickup of crushed plastic. A consumer sets our bottle down beside a tram stop and walks on. Each is answering a price placed on a container after thirst has already ended. That is enough.
Our bottle leaves the filling plant in a shrink-wrapped tray and rides a truck into a discounter on the edge of Leipzig. A clerk sets it on a shelf of identical liters. The shelf edge lists the drink, and, apart from the drink, the deposit. The plastic does not know it is collateral. The books do. Thursday, 1840. A customer lifts the bottle. At checkout, the transaction carries two economic events, even when the speaker makes one sound: payment for water and collection of the mandatory deposit on this covered single-use package. The customer pays. The shop now holds 25 cents that are not a margin on thirst. The bottle disappears into a backpack. Friday, the bottle is emptied beside a spreadsheet. It stands on a windowsill, then on a radiator, then among other marked empties. These are the dead hours of the return market, when the claim is only a household object. Saturday, 11:10. Rain on the automatic doors. A queue at the reverse vending ports. The customer feeds a first empty, then ours. The drum turns. A reader hunts for the registered mark and the barcode. The body is intact enough. Acceptance. The machine compresses the PET, so the same corpse cannot re-enter as a second claim. 25 cents join a running credit. Our bottle stops being a bottle. It becomes a counted fragment in a locker inside the steel cabinet and a line of data. A second empty in the same bag fails because the label has been peeled away. No reader, no claim. The customer presses the failed plastic back into the bag with a noise that is not quite a word. The device is not rude. It is enforcing identifiability. The slip that prints is a voucher, not coins in a tray. A credit to be paid at a human till or burned against bread, apples, and more water. At that till, the Leipzig shop pays out deposits it may never have collected on these particular units. That mismatch is the job of clearing. Return records from reverse vending machines and from hand takeback move into a nationwide reconciliation. Fillers and retailers settle, so a shop here is not punished for refunding a bottle sold in Stuttgart. The process is designed to be dull. A return market that depends on courtesy dies at the first unfamiliar logo. Under the dullness, take-back duty is the spine. A retailer that sells covered one-way drinks must take qualifying empties back. Smaller shops operate inside a narrower mirror of their own assortment. Larger shops function closer to a public desk for the materials they handle. The obligation is the reason the cabinet stands in the entrance instead of in a storeroom reserved for kindness. Manufacturers and retailers are placed in the return chain. Participation is not a campaign. A clerk at a kiosk 3 streets away has no cabinet. A student returns 2 marked cans. The clerk inspects the marks by hand, drops the cans into a crate, and writes a small credit. The law's duty can be industrial or intimate. It cannot be imaginary. Now shift the Saturday. The customer does not come. The empties remain under a sink. On Monday, a housemate tips our bottle into residual waste, or into a sack for lightweight packaging, or onto a platform bin beside the tram. No drum, no voucher, no refund. The 25 cents collected on Thursday stay inside the deposit chain. The consumer's claim ends by inattention. The documented circuit explains reimbursement for containers that return. It does not turn an unreturned unit into a public dividend. Someone in the chain no longer owes that customer a payout. The emptiness that was built to be expensive has slipped back toward ordinary refuse. This is the wound. High return and constant leakage share the same week. Festival grass shines with marked PET that will never meet a registered throat. Offices swallow water bottles whose owners earn more in 10 minutes than they would recover by queuing. Heat in a parked car warps a container until a reader hesitates. A machine goes out of service at peak hour and the line becomes a political meeting. Staff from the latest widening of the obligation still pause over which new drink is inside the circuit and which still is not. Reusable fillers watch this stream with a long grievance.
A deposit on one-way packaging can make Disposable look house-trained, a paid-for discard, while crate logistics remain a heavier story to tell in a single glance. Back in Leipzig, a technician opens the cabinet after close. He hauls a bin of compressed PET and tags it for a recycler who seeks a relatively clean beverage bottle fraction. Counts ride a cable toward clearing.
Our returned bottle is now two things: flake headed for material and a number headed for settlement. The unreturned twin, there is always a twin in another kitchen, is neither. It is a silent transfer. Deposit collected, refund never triggered. Dominoes move from that silence. Shops size machine parks to the Saturday peak, not to the Tuesday average, and pass the cost into operations. Fillers carry deposit liabilities on their books until returns arrive or until time makes the liability look like a residue. Informal collectors hunt the leakage the machines never see. Cities still sweep what the price failed to pull indoors. Competitors with faster cabinets steal the grocery trip that follows the voucher. All of it needs a price that exists only while the empty unit can still be identified. The claim simply expires in a bin. Two markets occupy one statute. The visible market is a drum, a voucher, a receipt. The shadow market is the inventory of bottles that still hold a legal price no living person will collect. Our bottle, in the successful telling, entered the drum. It could have entered the shadow with the same Thursday barcode. The statute cannot crawl under the sink. It lives with the bags that never move. That is the unfinished settlement. The rational core, once the mechanism is visible, is almost cold. A government can mint a second price on an object after the first use has ended, but only if it also builds a reader, a duty, and a settlement rule. Without those, a residual number on a receipt is decoration. With them, emptiness becomes inventory that can move against the current of trash. From above the aisle, the interesting object is not the water, and not even the plastic. It is the second column on the receipt, a number that only becomes real if a doorway later agrees to read it. Fail that later reading, and the column evaporates for the person who paid it. Keep the reading, and a nation sorts its discards with wallets. The principle belongs to prices, not to virtue. People carry clinking bags on bicycles because the bags are wallets with awkward shapes. Firms run reverse logistics because covered packaging does not offer them a polite exit. Labor appears at the lip of a public bin because a cash value attached to a discarded object is still cash. Change the number to something trivial, and the bags stay home. Remove the duty, and the cabinets vanish from the doorways. Remove the mark, and the cabinets become expensive toys that cannot decide. Narrowness is the unlovely secret of the board. A residual price that tried to bless every container in the country would drown in arguments about yogurt pots, juice boxes, and cups. The German one-way deposit survives as an economic instrument because it is fenced. Covered single-use beverage packaging on one side, reusable loops under other arithmetic. Ineligible vessels left as ordinary waste. Machines can be stupid if the fence is sharp. Clearing can be an accounting file if the unit is either in or out. There is an aftertaste that does not fade with the Saturday voucher. Any society that successfully prices some of its discards begins to see all discards as candidates. Cups at a station kiosk, filters in a gutter, mailers from a warehouse. Each candidate would demand a mark a reader can trust, a throat that must accept the empty, a firm that cannot shrug, and a rule for the claims that never travel home. Each candidate would also grow an informal harvest and a shadow inventory of priced things no one redeemed. That unredeemed residue is the system's true philosophical object. A deposit that always returns is a shuttle between shop and kitchen. A deposit that sometimes stays behind is a transfer. The beneficiary is defined by whoever holds the unsettled claim in the books, not by the photograph on a ministry pamphlet. The public circuit is eloquent about how to recapture the money. It is quieter about the money that remains when recapture fails. Picture a supermarket facade after midnight. The return cabinet is dark. Behind the glass, compressed bodies wait to become counts at dawn. Under a bench 50 meters away, a single container rolls in the wind and becomes nothing any registry can see. Both were drinks at noon.
Only one is still a price. Rain ticks on the dark glass. Still, if a statute can attach cash to emptiness, who ought to own the cash that no consumer walks back through the door? And which other used-up objects are already waiting for a legally created price of their own?